Hi, happy Thursday. The video cut off, so I'm trying to do another one. I can't remember what I've said, and a bit of time's passed, so hopefully I'm not going to go too far off track from what I wanted to say. But I was thinking again about how our human imagination creates everything from new fads, new idols to worship, new materialistic things, new technologies, new everything. So the human mass consciousness, we individuals, we are the creator beings. We create the next paradigm, the future age, whatever we perceive, we make. It's kind of obvious, but yet at the same time, we naturally have this human thing of creating the bad guys, the dualism, the judgment, and dual is even in the word duality, isn't it? And it's the judgment that needs to go. And so many of these conspiracy theories, or even new age, I guess you'd say, and definitely sort of how the rise of Christianity, I guess, in my awareness, how all these sort of group consciousnesses are still within this dualistic paradigm. Even ones, like in my eyes, I think even, flat earth and, V the controllers, or Q versus the deep state, or angels versus demons, good versus bad, whatever that is, are we not just creating that ourselves? Like, I was just thinking, about psychedelic trips I've had before, or, profound meditations, and reminiscing, about this last year and some of the experiences that I've had and continue to have, and how during these experiences, it's like talking to a different part of your own consciousness. But I've always been interested and almost aware to the point of knowing that it was like, I was creating it. And I don't mean like, oh, I'm amazing, I was creating it. I mean, like, we're interpreters, we're interpreting consciousness, different parts of consciousness, like when we're sleeping and we're dreaming, and we're actually interacting with something else. It's the human imagination. And so I was thinking that we dictate the future, the human imagination. It's like, where is the mass consciousness going to go? Are we going to go with dirty fucking horrible materialism and sexualization of everything, and just how tacky and fucking shit everything is these days in terms of human essence and what we were here to experience and be, Oh, it's fucking horrible. I felt that come on me when I said it. I was like, oh God, it just isn't it? Like, there's like girls that are like 12 that look like they're 20, and nothing makes sense anymore. I'm like, whoa, like the world is completely fucked up. But so our human imagination has dictated everything, and always has done, and yeah, there are controllers and people at the top, but do we need to give them the power of their fear that idea has upon the people? It's like, I had a dream once that me and Donald Trump were swimming in a swimming pool, and my thoughts at the time were like how childlike he was and just how silly and irrelevant he was in my dream. I didn't give two shits. I was finding it funny. I thought he probably had a nappy on under the pool. It was a complete sort of joke with myself during the dream. And during psychedelic trips before, and sort of visualizations and intense sort of dark night of the soul or meditation type altered states of consciousness that I've had before, where I've been able to change the image that is before me, whether that be in a dream or a meditation, to something less threatening, and I can get out of it if I want. I don't have to sit within that terror. It's like the lucidity, the power of the consciousness to separate or to switch off or to protect in some way. I don't even know. But I've always had this sort of second awareness chatting to the first awareness, like my different part of my subconscious, who knows, I don't know, or a different part of my brain, you know, connecting or communicating with the other. Who knows? I don't know. But it's all to do with the brain and consciousness, and so it's like, when will science, you know, give us sort of more interesting proofs to ponder, you know, on the nature of reality and things like that. But, sorry, dry mouth, weed. But it's like the left parts of our brains, the reptilian part of our brain, parts of the brain are overstimulated, and it's science that neural pathways are blocked and changed, and the amygdala is overstimulated, and the hippocampus and all these different areas of the brain, they are working differently in people with schizophrenia or autistic spectrum or mental health disorders, whatever you want to fucking call it, you know. And so I've always been interested in how these blockages happen, which psychedelics taught me a lot about, and, you know, researching things to do with psychedelic research. But that felt right with what I'd experienced and how I'd interpreted and internalised everything. It's like we are the creator beings, basically. So it's like, so then I was thinking about, I put our imagination dictates the future, and then I put in question mark brackets underneath, and changes the past. Because the past can be changed with rebranding. So it makes me think about the Mandela effect, really, in loads of different ways. But I was kind of thinking, you know, how we are doing it to ourselves. It's like, I listened to a few Mandela things this last week, and it's not actually felt good to sit within. I've done it more out of intrigue, because this correlation is that Mandela affected community people seem to be going through a spiritual awakening at the same time, which also seems to be the case with many sort of flat earthers. It's this, alongside the spiritual awakening, is your chosen past, present and future. So the internet connects us all, and I don't know how many billions of people are on the planet or anything like that, but the chances are quite high that you would find someone somewhere that believes something in the or remembers something in the same way that you do. There's certain things that I can't explain, so it interests me. You know, there's certain ones, and I'm like, you know, like mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? It's like, it was that. It fucking was in my reality. I'm not letting it affect me. I'm just going, it definitely was. Like, I don't know what's going on. I'll put it back there, and I'll try and form some personal theory on it at some point in my existence. But to sort of say it's this or it's that, give credit to these people, give them the power of the fear with the imagination of the scenario it could be. Like, we create our own nemesises. Like, when you're facing your own shit during your dark night of the souls, like, these are tests that feel like they come from somewhere higher, but it's all connected to you. It's very sort of very personal, isn't it? So anyway, by so many people giving weight to the Mandela effect, because it feels like something that's designed to send you off your rocker. You know, if you actually buy into that paradigm and start going, oh my God, you know, why is everything changing? Instead of just trying to have that shield up and going, well, fuck me, that is weird. But, you know, I don't want to be disrespectful, because I've not had one of these horrendously personal ones that so many people claim to have. But basically, we're creating the Mandela effect by searching for people with the same selective memory, because we all have individual perspectives of the same event. Like, I've tried to speak about this before, I'm not sure if I said it in the last video, but you know, event happens here, a murder happens, 10 people watch it, everybody experiences it differently and takes away different traumas, different memories from that, different whatever, you know, energies. Just experiences are completely different and unique because of everything that got them to who they were at that moment that event happened. So the perspectives are infinite. I don't know if I'm making sense now. I kind of felt like I'd got some sort of idea of how the Mandela effect was natural, but sort of it's being created by people who are Mandela affected at the moment by searching for it, when it's quite dangerous to the human psyche, I feel like. I don't know any teenagers or anything like that, but if my kids were teenagers now, I'd be sort of checking on the mental health, because there's all these paradigm shattering narratives to pick, to sit within, to believe, you know, when like it should all be brought back to self. So, you know, I've just heard a few Mandela effects recently, and like I said, there's some that I can't explain, but it's not affecting me for whatever reason, it's not. But certain ones, like, you know, certain songs or things like that, and I'm remembering it the way it is, and I'm like, and I've got my reasons for these certain ones, you know, and so I'm like, it feels like a bit of a stretch, you know. Some people seem to be stretching it, you know, and they can't, as much as we all like to think that we've got the most open minds ever, sometimes when we believe something so much, we're just as susceptible to cognitive dissonance of another angle. And, you know, the point is that you're of an angle, you're on a team, you're in a duel, in the dualistic ideology, you're participating in the human imagination of the fight. And anyway, like I said, I'm going to put Tobias Lars's video from last night. I resonated when he was talking about his sort of warrior pre-programming, and I've spoken about this before. This is how I feel like that is my ancestral DNA or my karma, or this is my old stuff, and this life in a way, but this warrior sort of savage sort of mindset, you know. I would, like he said, I'd have killed the dragon or whatever, you know. I'm quite like that, and it's come with some real perks but some real fucking downfalls. So I'm shedding this shit now. But anyway, he was talking about how he's getting from his pre-programming of the warrior mindset into, you know, like a holding space mode, and I feel like that's where I'm going. It's like in between the warrior mindset of duality and you're good, I'm bad, and, you know, I will fight to the death. It's like, no, don't fight, surrender to self. And between the warrior mindset, which is probably more of the left brain banging on, to the right brain, which is more, you know, loving, creativity, I don't know, you know, they've both got the perks. But the holding space is in the middle, where you're free to exist in a non-dual mindset, and it's difficult to stay out of. And sometimes I find myself getting pulled back into things when you experience a certain synchronicity or serendipity or a deja vu or a moment where you have to question reality, and you go, what the fuck, you know? This music seems quite apt, actually. It feels like this sometimes, doesn't it? And you're like, oh my God, like, what's all this about? But it's all for the self journey, and I feel like sometimes I'm like, oh my God, I see it all so clearly, why certain people are in my life, even my kids, and who they are, their essences, and my mum and dad, you know, partners, whatever. Like, I see what they were and their lessons for me, and at the same time I don't judge it because I see my part in it all as well. It's almost like, you know, it's deep shit. So, and he mentioned, I think I might have said this in the last video, but this sort of terror and this bliss, but we're creating it all ourselves. Like, we create the internal nemesis, the external nemesis, the everything with our human imagination and interpretation of darker energies, which is essentially fear, isn't it? And so yeah, it's like banishing the fear. This last couple of weeks, hugely intense energies. I've felt it's been really difficult for me to ground and for me to feel non-anxious and peaceful and open. I've felt very much on guard, and it's been intense. So yeah, I'm hoping something will be released tonight. The clouds are a bit pink now, the sun's just going down. Yeah, it's been intense. I've been thinking about a lot of things, and maybe I'll do another video tomorrow, because I wanted to try and think about how we're kind of creating the idea of fake history and fake news as well, in a way. Yeah. Anything that gains momentum is sort of changing the future or the past, just by its existence and its growth, So if we've got a load of people over here looking for things to pick that they remember differently, instead of just being thrown it like a synchronicity, something to awaken you and remind you of your sort of connection to something more than what we're told, as divine humans. I think that's what the Mandela effect is. It's a way to shatter your paradigm and to start off the awakening, the ascension process or whatever. It's the spark, and so is flat Earth, and so are all these other conspiracies. But the problem is that human imagination and need to follow groups, we cling to the one that suits us best without trusting our individual one, and then things gain momentum, and things are changed. So it's like we've all got to realise, whichever angle you're at, that this dualistic mindset is this sort of reptilian type of ideology, and it's within us, and we have to merge the left and the right brain. We have to have the balance and open up the third eye and understand more and release our dirty dark energies, and just be compassionate, loving, giving, empty vessels to experience better realities through our consciousness. Times will be exciting. Like, it's just like, I'm always like, well, which way is the human mass consciousness, the hive mind, going to go? Because it's always going to be dictated by the ones in control, the ones with the money, even if we imagine that they're not sinister at all, but they're just stupid fucking rich wankers and nothing more sinister than that. The reality is that we are still controlled by a certain few, and the money system's fucked, and that is what will have to change at some point. But let's not all start, getting into these lower density paranoid mindsets where we're in the dualistic reptilian fight or flight mindset, and we're still playing the game, we're still playing the part, instead of playing our own part within it all, which is all done through our own personal consciousness. Yeah, I get wary about the internet and certain movements, and same as like my interest in Jordan Peterson and the whole politically correct bullshit and the complete lunacy that goes on regarding certain things. It's like we don't understand what our thoughts and perceptions are creating. We're not careful with our thoughts and words, and we're so quick to jump into an ideology, and then it sort of becomes that. So I just think it's, you know, the brain activity, consciousness, science and physics and fucking metaphysics, astrophysics, who bloody knows, whatever it is, quantum physics, and then psychology and mindfulness, psychedelics, mystical experiences. These types of things are being explored rapidly. So, you know, it's going to happen at some point where we'll have all had the opportunity to cleanse ourselves and have a spiritual awakening, so the mass consciousness will naturally move in a better direction with no more suffering. I still can't even believe it, you know, that people are waffling on about certain things in politics when they can't even look after their own, like homeless people everywhere you look. And what the fuck is that about, you know? What is that about? It's like, if I were the Prime Minister, I'd have like a hotline, and I would go and get someone to pick them up straight away and like fucking sort them out, because it's ridiculous, like how we just leave our own people to rot and kill themselves and turn to drugs and all sorts of shit. We allow that, and we fucking enable that, you know, with like legal alcohol and illegal psychedelics and anything that's introspective or retrospective, you know. Like I've said before, I love saying this, but we're our own best therapists, and we all need a good fucking therapy session, and everybody's is on the way. It's like the cleanse, the purge will be everywhere, no matter where it's come from, because of the internet and because of mass consciousness growing in a different direction. You know, it's going to be on everybody's horizon, so it's just like, oh, you know, it's like, let's not create shit narratives and paradigms filled with fear and too much speculation. Let's try and bring it back to our individual selves and our psyche and lessons learned, and, you know, what it actually means, how it's changed our lives having these journeys. And, you know, it's exciting that so many people are going to start sharing their individual perspectives on everything so soon, because we've not seen the positive benefits of the internet as yet, I don't think. And that light's flashing in the back, innit? It's been so many flashing lights in that bathroom recently, and me and the kids, we were laughing, and I was like, I'd say I was 80% convicted in this. So I'm not saying this was like manifesting energy or anything like this, but in a way it was. Anyway, we were in the bath and the lights were flashing, so I was like, I said, let's tell the light what to do to the kids. So we were shouting, stop, 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 and then the light would stop, and then we were like, on, and it came back on. Not every single one, but maybe 4 or 5 out of 10 did, and then flash, 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 and then it would flash. It was brilliant. And then we got some static electricity off the trampoline the other day, and I do believe it's your aura and everything, and potentially your blood or whatever, but just highly sensitive to electrics and electronics and energies and things like that. Anyway, we were all filled with, and the little girl next door was as well, all filled with like this static energy, and we were poking each other with it on the, you know, pretending we were like Iron Man with these sort of energy things. But, you know, it's again, all this is like imagination. It's bloody great ponders, but tonight I'm going to be pondering within, and I hope that soon all these different truth-searching communities come together, because we're not seeking outside, that's it, you know, we should be seeking inside. If you're searching for the truth, you're on a spiritual awakening, and so, you know, get through the rabbit holes as quick as you can, and then get off the fucking wheel and get back inside. Because no one knows, and we're figuring it out together, and we're creating it together. So let's be mindful about how far deep into certain things we get, and actually what what that means, you know. Yeah, and again, I don't know how bad the things the controllers are. I don't really know who they are. I know, you know, the main sort of the main alternative view on that, and it's completely plausible, but let's not give it away. Same as all the fucking fear porn and the symbolism and, you know, distrust of everything is not a good place to be, whether there's certain, well, I was going to say tiny, maybe huge, certain truths within that. It's like, it's how that sits in your body. You need to just sort of, we need to be flying through this shit, meeting up in the middle and going, oh, hello, half of the world who are now good people because we've sorted ourselves out. How can we change the world now? What we're going to do? And that will just naturally happen the more people start feeling more love and being more creative. But I agree, it's a really shit place to be sometimes. You know, working as a slave essentially. And I was saying to the kid's dad yesterday, like, I don't understand why money can't be split equally between everybody in a certain place, and if you want to prosper, you go out and work on top of that. You can be successful in material if that's what you choose, but you don't have to work to live, to sustain existence, you know. It's like, that is where humanity becomes, you know, a prison in some respects, you know, a prison of slaves or whatever. But again, you know, it's just mindset, isn't it? I have to be careful not to slip into victim mindset. This is what I'm trying not to do. I felt, aside from being anxious, I felt a little bit lonely at times this last week, and also a little bit sorry for myself, a bit like, oh no, you know, like, why is all this? Like, I've had such sort of chats with myself, like when I'm having these meditations before I go to bed, last few days and weeks or whatnot. It's heavy. It's heavy, and I'm ready for a change. So blah blah. Bored myself rotten now. Talk about some of this tomorrow probably. Happy spring equinox, full supermoon, 2019.